Date: late February 2026. Subject: systemic shocks, escalating cartel wars, and multi-theater brinkmanship. This intelligence brief synthesizes the global operating environment as of late February 2026, detailing a convergence of economic instability, high-stakes military standoffs, and unprecedented institutional crises. The international architecture is currently being stress-tested across almost every domain, from the collapse of a major U.S. trade framework to full-blown cartel insurgencies in Mexico and a rapidly escalating showdown between the U.S. and Iran. 1. Economic warfare, the tariff crisis and trade realignment. The cornerstone of U.S. economic policy has been thrown into severe disarray following a major domestic judicial intervention, the Supreme Court reversal. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down President Donald Trump's sweeping emergency global tariffs. In direct defiance of the ruling, the administration immediately announced a retaliatory 15% worldwide tariff. Global enforcement chaos, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, indicated it will halt the collection of the tariffs deemed illegal by the court. Concurrently, President Trump warned that any country attempting to play games with the court's decision will face even higher, more punitive levies. The European backlash. In response to the sudden 15% tariff, the European Union has moved to freeze the ratification process of its U.S. trade deal, demanding legal clarity before proceeding. Asian market shifts. Markets in Hong Kong and mainland China rallied significantly following the Supreme Court's decision, while Southeast Asian exporters are attempting to position themselves as net winners amid the transatlantic trade fracturing. 2. Latin America, the fall of El Mencho and cartel reprisals. The Mexican government has achieved its highest-profile victory against organized crime in a decade, but at the cost of immediate, widespread domestic chaos. The decapitation strike, Mexican security forces killed Nemesio El Mencho, or Ceguera Cervantes, the ruthless leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. While the operation was executed by Mexican forces, Washington provided key intelligence support. Asymmetric retaliation. The assassination triggered massive and coordinated cartel reprisals across at least half a dozen states. Cartel operatives set up flaming roadblocks, torched businesses, and engaged in deadly clashes that killed at least 25 National Guard troops. Economic and travel paralysis. The violence has turned areas into temporary war zones. Major international airlines, including Air Canada, suspended flights to tourist hubs like Puerto Vallarta, and the US and Canada issued urgent shelter-in-place advisories for their citizens. 3. Middle East, the brink of regional conflict. Diplomacy and military ultimatums are on a collision course as the US attempts to unilaterally enforce its terms in the Middle East. The nuclear ultimatum. The US and Iran are scheduled for another round of indirect nuclear talks in Geneva. However, this occurs under the shadow of a massive US military buildup, with President Trump publicly acknowledging he is considering limited military strikes to compel a deal. Iranian posturing. Iranian officials have warned that any US attack, no matter how limited, would be treated as an act of aggression and met with a ferocious response. Concurrently, massive anti-government student protests have erupted across Iranian universities, highlighting severe domestic vulnerability. Regional preparations. Anticipating severe blowback from potential strikes, the U.S. State Department has ordered all non-essential diplomats to evacuate Lebanon. 4. War in Europe. Fourth anniversary offensives and wavering unity. As the full-scale invasion of Ukraine approaches its fourth anniversary, the conflict is increasingly defined by deep strikes and fracturing European solidarity. Kinetic escalations. Russia launched a massive wave of missiles and drones against Ukrainian infrastructure, heavily damaging areas like Lviv and Kiev. Simultaneously, Ukraine executed a devastating missile attack on the Russian border region of Belgorod, disrupting power and water supplies. The energy chokehold. European unity is actively splintering. Slovakia halted emergency power supplies to Ukraine over an ongoing oil transit dispute, while Hungary vowed to block a massive EU loan for Kyiv and veto the 20th package of anti-Russian sanctions. 5. Institutional reckonings. The Epstein contagion. The fallout from the unsealed Jeffrey Epstein files continues to dismantle established political networks, particularly in Europe. High-profile arrests. British police arrested 72-year-old Peter Mandelson, the former UK ambassador to the US, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The Royal Purge. Mandelson's arrest comes just days after the unprecedented detainment of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew. Domestic security spillovers. The scandal is fueling domestic extremism in the US. An armed man who breached the security perimeter at Mar-a-Lago before being fatally shot by the Secret Service was reportedly fixated on the Epstein files. 6. The technological frontline. The AI investment boom. Capital injection. The artificial intelligence sector continues to experience explosive growth, with big tech projected to invest an estimated $650 billion into AI infrastructure in 2026. Market disruption. The rapid integration of AI tools, such as Anthropic's new models, is causing severe market disruptions, triggering sell-offs in traditional cybersecurity and software stocks. Strategic forecast. The international system has entered a highly volatile window where legal, economic, and military guardrails are failing simultaneously. The circumvention of the U.S. Supreme Court via executive tariff orders signals a willingness by the U.S. administration to aggressively bypass institutional checks. This disruption, combined with the massive power vacuum created by the death of El Mencho in Mexico and the looming threat of kinetic strikes in Iran, guarantees severe, near-term market and security turbulence